With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Doing the job the American media maggots won't. Fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Here is, courtesy of the SHR Media Network, the Bloviating Zeppelin.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
We're on. Woohoo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct from the SHR Media studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Flackbait is going to be your bartender tonight, and he pours with the best of them. Over my left shoulder, you can see the lava lamp is in fact on. Now that indicates that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. If you want to be in the chat room, please go to shrmedia.com. The Facebook pages, the YouTube channel. There's only one place I have time for a chat room, shrmedia.com. Now you can listen there too. I also want to emphasize that if you want to watch the show now, there are three places you can go. You can go to the Big Sarge Media page, Facebook page. You can go to the SHR Media Facebook page. And you can go to the SHR Media YouTube channel. I gotta tell you, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Welcome to 4 viewers in chat. We are going to have a wondrous, eventful show tonight, a really big shoe, and there are 2 reasons for that. Number 1 is the incredible wonder of my first guest, which is Jeff DUNETZ. He has been here before. He's the act you've known for all these years. He's not Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, but he is a great blogger from New York. Now, that having been said, I'm pretty sure that he's already on the phone. Jeff DUNETZ, would that be accurate?
I think so.
It is accurate. Me? Yes, it is. It are you.
Holy cow.
I know.
Isn't technology wonderful?
It is. time for a break, just for a second, because everybody who listens to the show knows that in some fashion, technology lets me down. Some people have quantified it as saying that BZ lets technology down. I'd rather think of it as technology lets me down. But tonight, number one, Jeff DUNETZ, you called in early. I saw you calling in. I put you on. You waited until you were introduced. It sounds good. Technology is going well tonight so far. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here tonight, Jeff of DUNETZ.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's
been a very interesting day.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that in a second. But as I customarily do with people from the East Coast, I always have to remember my manners. My mother raised me in that fashion to remember my manners and say thank you very much for being here tonight, because it's 8:05 on the left coast. That means it's 11:05 p.m. on the East Coast. That means that Mrs. Dunetz's young lad had to stay up really late to be here tonight. So, Jeff, as per normal, I really appreciate your staying up late for me.
It's my pleasure, and lately I've been up this late, so it doesn't matter.
Ah, cool. Hey, look, in chat, it is Jeff Dunetz, one each, Dave Milner, we got John Martin, Jenna, and one viewer. Welcome to Jenna. Pass the word, folks. SHRmedia.com. If you want to chat, we'd love to have you in chat. We can take 50 to 100 people now. We've expanded our borders and our pleasures. The telephone system works. We've got a great guest. In the second hour, we're going to have an update from Dave Milner about what's happening in the UK. It's going to be a wonderful...
He's also a great guest.
Yes, he is. He's the unpleasant blind guy who is, well, he is blind. But no, he's not unpleasant. Let's not say that about Dave. I mean, let's get real here. Jeff, again, great to see you, sir. Now, you said that today was kind of a weird day for you. Why would that be?
Well, but before we go on,
okay,
can I ask everyone listening to sometime between now and when they wake up tomorrow, say a prayer of thanks for the 160,000 people who 75 years ago crossed the British Channel?
Oh, boy, yes.
And really saved the world?
That, folks, is not hyperbole in the slightest. Nope. I'll tell you what, Jeff. I'll throw this out. Maybe you can make it. Maybe you can't. And to let folks know, this Thursday, both hours are going to be a tribute to D-Day, what happened in really? D-Day, to America, to patriotism, to sheepdogs, to people in the military, to people in law enforcement, to people who are emergency responders, because it's people like that keep us safe. And just a fraction of the people who were living on D-Day 75 years ago, this Thursday, June 6th, just a fraction of those folks are still around. We need to honor them now, and we need to honor them forever, because they did.
With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs, because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more, all in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
Hey there, Ryan Reynolds here. It's a new year, and you know what that means. No, not the diet. Resolutions. A way for us all to try and do a little bit better than we did last year. And my resolution, unlike big wireless, is to not be a raging and raise the price of wireless on you every chance I get. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
Didn't just keep the United States safe and free.
They saved the whole world.
They literally, Jeff is accurate. They saved the entire damned planet. That is not...
And do you know why it's the 6th, not the 5th?
Yes, it is the 6th. It's 6-6.
But it was supposed to be the 5th.
Yes.
It was crappy weather, so we had to worry about global warming back then.
Yeah, imagine that those things still affected us back in... Yeah, what a shock that is. Actually not. So you're absolutely...
It's been a crazy day for the country.
Okay.
I knew.
Well, before we get to that, and I do want to get to that, obviously, because there's a ton of stories that I'd love to talk to you about. A number of them are occurring in New York and in your area, but I want to do the same thing that I do anytime and every time that you're on. I want to tell people, and I'm not going to let you do it because I love to do this myself. Folks, if you want to read Jeff's material, Jeff DUNETZ, DUNETZ, go quick like a bunny to lidblog, LIDBLOG, one word, lidblog.com. Jeff hits 2 to 3 to 4 to sometimes 5 stories a day. If you want to read an active blog, an active news site, it's lidblog.com. Jeff has got stuff going there all the time. He is involved with it. He has great insight. Jeff used to work for Breitbart, for the Andrew Breitbart back in the day when Andrew Breitbart was around. Let me ask you this, Jeff. Andrew Breitbart passed away of a heart attack, if I'm not mistaken. Can you possibly think of what that site would be like today and what an amazing site it would be, and I think what a monster site it would be if Andrew Breitbart were still around?
Do you know something? I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because one of the things that really bugged me is the people who say, if Andrew was around, he wouldn't have voted for this one or would have done this. I don't know what Andrew would have done. Because you know what the best thing about Andrew was?
What's that?
You couldn't predict what he would do. And that's why he was so amazing. Because he never did the obvious thing.
If you had to try to... Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever actually meet Andrew Breitbart?
Yeah.
Okay.
I met him a couple of times. I spoke to him on the phone more.
Was he as affable and friendly as people say?
Let me give you a perfect example. When he came out with his book, the one book, and I forget the name, I'm sorry, but I got the book, and I tweeted him, and I said, good book, but I can't believe that in the acknowledgments you didn't mention me. I mean, I wrote like 200 articles for you in the last year. Now, you have to understand something. You know me. I'm a ball buster.
Yes.
So did he. The next morning he called me.
That's why I love you.
Jeff, I'm so sorry. And it's like, Andrew, I'm a ball buster. Don't be sorry. I was busting your chops. But he was really concerned that he hurt my feelings.
That speaks volumes about him, don't you think?
Yeah, because you know what? There was no way I deserved to be in his acknowledgments.
By the way, his book, which you can still purchase on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or order it from any number of booksellers, his book is called Righteous Indignation.
Right.
Excuse me while I save the world. I love that title. That is a great title. I just think that we're diminished with the loss of Andrew Breitbart.
Yes, but you know what? He left a lot of people. He trained a lot of people, and a lot of people still have that Breitbart feel. Dana Loesch,
Yeah.
Larry O'Connor, people like that are still incredible. Peter Schweitzer.
Oh, really?
You know. Oh yeah.
Oh,
he used to do Big Piece.
He wrote a couple of really great books. The one that comes to mind was, I think he wrote Clinton Cash, did he not?
You bet.
Here's an interesting bit of factoid-itis that I recall, having spoken to a couple of my former FBI folks. I used to work for the FBI and the U.S. Marshal and then a couple of local agencies. But I can remember speaking to an FBI dude who said, you know, I have it on good authority that the people that were beginning to investigate Clinton as much as they could, it was told by a certain SSA, which is a supervisory special agent, that it was, quote, air quotes, recommended that they read Clinton Cash
Yes, I heard that too.
by him to have a better idea of what is happening.
Yep.
That is a massive feather in the cap of him, I believe.
And and you know what else? He made it okay to attack Hillary. He broke the logjam.
Really, because up to that point,
he
no one else was doing that. Is that what you're saying? Really?
Yep. No one else was. It was taboo. But once Clinton Cash came, well, I mean, except for like conservative bloggers like us, but
right.
But he, before the book came out, excerpts, he wrote columns in the New York Times and the Washington Post about it. If there was no Clinton Cash, there would have been no Hillary server.
That's a rather amazing point. That's very good. Very good.
Peter's still a friend, and I really, I support him a lot because he's so great at what he does.
Folks, let me throw this out there, and Jeff won't do it, so I'll do it for him. Jeff's a humble kind of dude. Yeah, he's a ball buster. He sends me ball busting replies and witty repartee through social media, etc.
And you send them back.
Well, yeah, okay, I've been known to do that a time or two.
We enjoy that.
We do. But having said that, if you think...
Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get-started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Jeff DUNETZ is a lightweight on the East Coast. And be honest, please, Jeff DUNETZ, tell folks some of the places that you've written and tell folks some of the people that you've had on your show because they're fairly darned significant. So, be honest. You've had some great people on your show and spoken to some great people.
You mean besides you?
Oh, hell yes, besides me.
I don't know, Brigitte Gabriel.
Perfect.
Dick Morris.
Yep.
Kurt Schlichter.
Yep, Kurt is great people.
Kurt is really great people. I don't know. I have to look at my lineup.
Ed Morrissey. I think you've had Ed Morrissey of Hot Air on.
Ed's a good friend of mine, too. Congressman, Zeldin.
Okay.
Who's...
Jerry the Hut Nadler.
I never had Jerry on my show.
No, that's right. You've never had Jerry. Number one, he couldn't fit in the studio door. So that's okay.
Well, but the other thing is, I believe that people should investigate him because he was probably bribed for his vote on the Iran deal. And I have as much proof of that as he has that Trump obstructed justice.
Okay. All right. I get it now. What I'd like to do for this hour is go through a bunch of the recent stories that you have at lidblog.com. But before we do that, you said that you had kind of an interesting day. Is it something that you can regale in a tale-worthy tale to the folks here?
I think the thing that, to me, one of the biggest stories of the day is that the coward of Broward might be going to jail.
Yes, and you wrote a great story about that. His name is Scott
Peterson, not the one that killed his wife, but the one that during the Parkland shooting, the Portland massacre, the cop who hid instead of going inside and trying to stop it. Not only did his doing nothing result in so many extra deaths of people who could have been saved, but also, I think that 999 out of every 1,000 cops are wonderful, and he was the one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, most definitely. Here's something that I think people need to understand. Folks have, he's been quantified by some people as a school resource officer. Okay, yes, correct. Technically correct. He was a school resource officer. But I want everyone to understand that as a school resource officer, we have them in Sacramento. I'll wager that you have a lot of those in New York. A school resource officer is nothing more than an actual police officer or a deputy sheriff whose job, who contracts with a school. They are generally armed. 99% of them are armed. He was armed that day, but he was working as a school resource officer, but wearing a Broward County Sheriff's Department uniform, paid by the Broward County Sheriff's Department, meaning that he was a full-time peace officer, armed, wearing a Broward County deputy sheriff's uniform with all the rights and privileges and authorities, including the ability to wield deadly force as necessary. It was Scott Peterson and things like this. Wasn't Columbine back in 1999. Now, we didn't have school resource officers. That was essentially the beginning of active shooters at the time when the two kids went into Columbine and began shooting fellow students. People didn't envision that at that point. Now there are plans, there are active shooter plans, and this officer's job, Scott Peterson, his sole job was not to go out and respond to calls for service in the county, was not to make vehicle stops. His job was not to go and go after drugs in the community. He had one job: take care of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School during that February 2018 shooting. One job. Scott, that's all you have. And let me be plain. I take umbrage at this because I spent 41 years doing his job, jobs like it, and many, many more jobs. Other than that, you dishonor Scott Peterson, the badge, and the oath. When there is video of you, you had one job to do. One job, Scott Peterson.
Yep.
You didn't
and
even
you know something?
do your
I have
job.
a lot of friends who are police officers, and every single one of them that I know would have rushed, maybe not rushed into like, hey, shoot me, but he would have found a way to distract him and get the kids out, or get some of the kids out. He wouldn't have hid on the side of the building.
No.
They wouldn't, not one of them. I mean, last week we had a shooting where one of the people that died was a kid. who tried to stop the guy from shooting. And this guy hid. So you know what? I mean, I really hope he gets, I don't know, I mean, he certainly, he can get up to 97 years. I don't think he deserves 97 years, but he deserves to spend some time in jail. And with a note on his orange jumpsuit that says, "Hey, I was a cop. Treat me that way."
The prior, yes, the prior Broward County sheriff was some leftist piece of crap whose name escapes me. And thank God they got...
Last name was Israel.
Oh, Scott Israel, yes. A massive donator to leftist causes, including Hillary Clinton, and all that information was out there in the ether for you to find. And he essentially said, well, not that big a deal. This is not that big a deal, except that we need to eliminate guns in society. So it was a perfect time for him to step on his platform and become incredibly pedantic as a sheriff. Well, now there's a new sheriff in town named Gregory Toney, and he announced today a statement went out from Broward County, and it said, following an investigation by FDLE, which is the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, kind of the investigative arm of the state of Florida, kind of like a little mini FBI for Florida. That's what they do. Former Broward Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson, 56, was arrested in Broward County today on 7 counts of neglect of a child and 3 counts of culpable negligence and 1 count of perjury. Now, that's very interesting, perjury, because the thing that we're told, and it's hammered home, at least in my department, that's all that I can speak for, is if you're caught, don't lie, because the lie and the cover-up will get you in more trouble than if you'd simply held up your hand and said, yes, I did X, and yes, you need to whack my pee-pee for that. I am guilty.
Well, one of the things he said that he didn't go in, that he told, that was because he didn't know where the shooting was. And at the same time, he was on the phone, the cell phone, with the cops saying the shooting's on the 1st floor and the 3rd floor. So
it's disgraceful. It's dishonorable. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful.
Now, the Supreme Court has already ruled that you cannot.
Thank you. You
cannot go
get out
after
of my
a
brain.
law enforcement officer for cowardice. However,
yes,
they're not going after him as a law enforcement officer. They're going after him as somebody who is responsible for taking care of kids, and he didn't.
Well,
so it's a totally different angle.
Yes, because you can see that in the statement it says the charges are neglect of a child. That doesn't have anything to do with law enforcement. Neglect of a child, 3 counts of culpable negligence, and 1 count of perjury. Whatever he did or said, as you indicated, in terms of perjury, that's on him. That has nothing to do with that particular law that you're addressing, and thank you for addressing that. The Sheriff Toney also said in that issuance today, the arrest comes after a 15-month investigation into the actions of law enforcement following the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. The FDLE investigation shows former Deputy Peterson did this is stunning, but excellent that a sheriff came out and said this. He did absolutely nothing to mitigate the MSD shooting that killed 17 children, teachers, and staff, and injured 17 others, said FDLE Commissioner Rick Swearingen. There can be no excuse for his complete inaction. And that's a good point. It wasn't partial inaction, as in, I waited until I had what I considered to be a sufficient contingent of officers surrounding me in terms of officer safety, and then we went in. It wasn't even that. There's no excuse for his complete inaction, and no question that his inaction cost lives.
Let me give you one example of how it cost lives. One of the last persons that got shot and killed was a 14-year-old girl. Okay, and she was running towards the staircase to escape, and the son of a bitch shot her in the back and severed her spinal cord. Now, if Peterson was somewhere in there, not even confronting him, but distracting him, like 1 or 2 seconds, that girl would have escaped. Because once you got on the staircase, she would have been free.
There are statistics, and I don't have the studies in front of me to do this, but on another show I had the stats. And the statistics run like this. Active shooters in situations similar to this, when confronted by law enforcement, do one of two things. They either lay down their weapons immediately because they are abject cowards, or cornered, they go somewhere and they kill themselves.
Right.
One of two things. Now, also initial entry by a single individual or a few individuals has resulted in some law enforcement injuries. But having said that, and going back to my work in law enforcement, there are times when you just have to do your damn job. And if that means going into an active shooter situation, and let's say, for example, you can hear the sirens, but they're a minute or two away, and you're hearing gunfire around the corner from you, and you're sufficiently armed, the onus is on you to take an active intervention against that active shooter.
Right.
That's the response. That's why people paid me. Now, my job wasn't to be a bullet magnet. I'm not the Secret Service. My job isn't to get killed, but my job is to make a good assessment in terms of officer safety and citizen safety. And if that means that I had to take action, this is an issue in law enforcement right now. Action versus inaction. Now, it's sad to say that more training is moving towards inaction and waiting. I'm sorry. I come from the old school of fuck it, I'm going in. And there are times when you just have to say that. There are times when I went to calls and had to say that. I've been in 4 shootings. I've shot back on one incident, a critical incident where someone was killed. I've been shot at 4 times. I have an idea what gunfire is, what it sounds like. There are times when you don't have the luxury of waiting for a SWAT team or thousands of people. You just have to sack up and do your job and intervene. And especially the statistics have proven in an active shooter situation, the earlier that you can intervene, the better the results are going to be, for the exact 2 reasons that I offered earlier. The shooters generally are cowards and will stop or put down their weapons. Occasionally they will shoot back, or they'll just kill themselves.
Well, if you read the sheriff's statement, it's interesting because he only talks about his inaction about the shooting happening on the 3rd floor. Because when he got there, it was too late for him to do anything about what happened on the 1st floor, and the shooter had already gone up to the 3rd floor. So it's exactly what you just said.
Okay. Tell you what, we're going to have to take a break. We'll be right back after this. I'm a minute late, and I wasn't watching the time because the big round clock in the SHR Media studio ran out of a battery. Sackhead Sean. Ran out of a battery, Sean. And I wasn't watching the time, so we'll go to a break, and we'll be right back with the loving and illustrious and packed with gravitas Jeff DUNETZ after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
for fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff DUNETZ. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff DUNETZ.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, frog in throat. We're speaking tonight to Jeff DUNETZ, the loquacious and affable Jeff DUNETZ, who can be found at lidblog.com. Lidblog.com. For those of you just tuned in, lidblog.com. For those of you on Zephron who are tuning in on channel Equalizer 3.27, subcluster 4, that's lidblog.com. Lidblog.com for Jeff DUNETZ. Jeff, we're talking about the shooting situation and the resulting, Scott Peterson got arrested. We were talking about how it's a warranted thing. I got to ask you, in the process of writing this, and it shouldn't shock you that, folks, you can find this great article and many more at lidblog.com. It looks like, as you've written, if he's convicted, I just made up a new word.
Too.
Yeah. If he's convicted, first you convict, then you convict as charged. Like you indicated, he could spend potentially 97 years in the state prison. His bond is $102,000. Not like he's identifiable or anything. But you have to ask yourself, this guy is... there was a movie called The Human Stain. And this guy, to me, I feel bad for dumping on him in a way, but in a way I really, really don't. Because he's a stain. And I don't know what happened in his life. I don't know what happened to make him come to the conclusion that he couldn't do his job. The only conclusion that most people can reach is that, sir, you're a coward. You're a coward. Again, I go back to what I said in the first half hour. You have one damn job to do as a school resource officer. It's not all-encompassing. You don't have to go throughout the rest of the county. Your job is to know how that physical plant is put together. Your job is to know the students. Your job is to know your emergency action plan in case of an active shooter, where to go, what to do, whom to contact, rally points, etc. Trust me, in every school district, in every school today, there are plans just like that and more.
Yep.
And he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that.
And I don't know, maybe for me it's always worse when you act wrong and kids die. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's just...
Although, I can't tell you how many times I threatened my kids, but, I would never really do it. I used to tell them, I could kill you and make another. But...
You're just one of many sperm, my friend, in the holster right here. And if I brought you in, I can take you out.
Yeah, except I would never do that.
I know that.
But anyway, so that's how it was like. I couldn't work after that because I felt I couldn't write anymore. I started the day with, today's also an interesting anniversary for me.
Oh, okay.
Probably the best story I ever broke was 9 years ago when I ruined Helen Thomas's career.
I'm looking at that right now. And you sent me that link earlier today, and I sent you back, oh, dude, we so have to talk about this. So I'm looking at it right now, folks, at lidblog.com. It's the title of his article, of Jeff's article, is "The Lid Took Down Helen Thomas 9 years ago, but the MSM still downplays Jew hatred." So tell us something about that, Jeff DUNETZ, if you would.
Which part?
All of it. The great story.
Well,
basically, you said you learned 2 valuable lessons in the process of outing Helen Thomas as a hater.
The first one is a rule I always lived by since I've been blogging. However, it kind of set it for me as a definitive rule, is that you don't say things that could ruin someone's life unless you've double-checked it and it's really true. And that it's done for the public, that's necessary for the public. I mean, you don't just ruin someone's life because you don't like them. You tell the truth, and if it ends up ruining someone's life, well, you know what? Anyway, I had a friend who went to the White House on Jewish Heritage Day.
Okay.
And as he was walking, and with his son, and as he was walking out, he saw Helen Thomas, and he said, wow, Helen Thomas, she's a famous, she was a famous reporter. She was probably the most famous reporter at the time.
Yeah, covered the White House.
reporter.
That was her job, just cover the White House, period. She was in the front row every time.
And they gave her that seat. After she was gone, people fought over it. But anyway, he said to her, oh, it's Jewish Heritage Week. Let me ask you something. What do you think of Israel? And she said, I think the Jews should get the hell out of Palestine. So far, that's not really a problem.
No, that's not super offensive. It's an opinion.
Right. But then came the clinker. She said, and go back to Germany and Poland. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Germany and Poland had something called concentration camps.
Yeah, that little H word.
Yeah, the Holocaust. So that was seen as, justifiably, as anti-Semitism. Now, she actually doubled down and even worse. On December 2nd, it ended up, she was forced to resign. December 2nd of the same year, she was giving a speech to a Arab tolerance convention.
Right.
And she basically said, the Jews run government, they run the media, you can't say anything bad about Israel, da-da-da-da. Basically all those anti-Semitic canards. Oh, and they have a lot more money than us, so they're more successful.
Right. Trope.
Just like Rep Omar. Right?
Yeah.
And then about a year later, she was interviewed for Playboy. It was just an interview, no pictures, thank God.
Oh, God. Oh, Jeff. Oh, Jeff, you've just tanked the show because now at the end of the show, I'm going to have to get my hands on some brain bleach. Oh, my God. You went there.
Anyway.
Folks, I'm sorry. I apologize for Jeff right now. I really do. It's one of those things where you just naturally go, ew.
Yeah, someday I'll tell you the headline of the article when I first posted it about Playboy.
Okay.
Anyway, she was interviewed by a Jewish writer.
All right.
And whatever she said in Detroit to that Arab conference, actually was in Wayne, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever she said there, that was nice compared to what she said in the Playboy interview.
Wow. Okay, now have...
So, but here's the problem. Back then, and even now, the media covers it as she got in trouble because she said something anti-Israel. No. If getting in trouble for being if you got in trouble for being anti-Israel, half the news media would be fighting. I mean, look at Peter Jennings, who in college slept with the PLO spokesperson. He didn't get in trouble. Half of Congress now, the Democrats. So, no. She got in trouble because she was anti-Semitic.
Jeff?
And it really bothers me when they whitewash what she did. And one of the examples I gave in the article was as recent as this past November. So it's not like it happened then and it doesn't happen anymore.
From your article, I have 1 minute of audio, and I'd like to play that 1 minute of audio of her from your article. This is Helen Thomas, White House Press Corps, the Jewish Heritage Celebration.
Any comments on Israel? We're asking everybody today. Any comments on Israel?
Tell them to get the hell out of Palestine.
Ooh. Any better comments than that?
Helen is one.
She thinks that's funny.
These people are occupied, and it's their land. not German, it's not Poland.
So where should they go? What should they do?
They go home.
Where's the home?
Poland.
So the Jews,
Germany.
You're saying Jews go back to Poland and Germany?
And America and everywhere else.
Okay, no problem, because 6 million Jews were killed at home in Germany and Poland. Does Helen Thomas even know that? That Jews have lived in Israel way before the Holocaust?
Well,
how ridiculous is that? That's so over the top. That's so ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Jews have lived in that Holy Land, which was called Judea until the Romans got pissed off at the Jews, and they changed its name to Palestine. But Jews have lived there since the time of Abraham, which Judaism, Christianity, and Islam believe was the father of monotheism. Okay, so first of all, historically, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yes.
But even more importantly than that, yeah, she knew. I mean, if you look at her face during it, I mean, she was giggling because she knew she was being bad. But she thought she was protected. And I have to tell you something. I had friends who were in the White House press corps who got really mad at me for outing her. Okay?
Yeah.
And my friend David, who gave me the video, he gave me the video because he shopped it around the mainstream media and no one would touch it. And he gave it to me on a Friday. And it's funny because that Friday I was about to leave and drive to Maryland because it was my nephew's engagement party.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, by the time you get back online on Saturday night, you'll have 500,000 or a couple 100,000 views. Well, I wrote it. I posted it in Breitbart's Big Journalism. I posted it on my site, and I gave the video to Drudge. So by the time he got on Saturday, it had more than 1 million views. Okay, and I'm driving down to Maryland, and I hear it on the Mike Batchelor show.
Yeah,
and I and it's all over the news on Saturday. It was incredible. So yeah, I mean, no one wanted to break it, but people liked it once it came out. You know, and there were other people who didn't hate me for it, who were in the White House, who said to me, you know, she's been saying anti-Semitic stuff her whole career.
Let me ask you a question that I believe I know the answer to, but I'm not 100%. But I'll ask it anyway, because, folks, we're talking to Jeff DUNETZ of lidblog.com. Would I be remiss in thinking that, at least at one point, Helen Thomas was Jewish?
No.
Okay. All right.
Helen Thomas
it was a shot in the dark.
Was a Lebanese Christian.
Oh, okay. All right. Still doesn't answer that question about anti-Semitism, but there you go.
No, well, you know, I've always complained that liberal Jews they're not self-hating Jews because they like themselves, but many of them are Jew-hating Jews.
Yeah, we discussed that before, and you've answered on any number of occasions. You've given excellent answers to that, but to me that still doesn't solve the issue. I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of an answer, and we'd spoken in the past about Jews in the Northeast, as opposed to Jews in Israel, and why do they consistently vote Democrat, da-da-da-da-da. You have gone on great lengths to make the explanation, and I still, to this day, I don't get it.
Well, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Totally unrelated.
Okay.
if sounding stupid was a talent, would Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez be considered gifted?
Oh, gosh, yes. Especially when I played the video last week of her hovering over her big, high-rise luxury apartment, peering down into a hole in the sink and wondering, what is this thing that goes grrr when I flip the switch? Disposal? Disposal of what? Oh, and by the way, is this thing green? I don't know if it's green. What does it do? Is it green? I don't think it's green. And with that having been said,
I've always taken out my own garbage.
Yeah. You happened to write an article, oddly enough, today as well, where the headline says, Democrat Socialist AOC says everyone has a right to a luxury apartment just like hers.
Yep.
Huh.
She basically said that New York's public housing should have all the amenities her house has, her apartment has. Now, this is the woman, if you remember, when she first got into Congress, said she couldn't find an apartment.
Right. Yes. And that she was staggeringly underfunded, and she was so poor because she's only making $174,000 a year, and who can be expected to live on $174,000 a year? Poor her. Honest to God, when I was reading it, I thought that she was angling for like a check up front. Look, DC, I need a check up front. I need, you got to front me this money, et cetera, et cetera. No, that's not how it works.
I think I have that part figured out.
Okay.
I think that the potential landlords didn't want to rent one of their apartments to somebody who didn't know what the hell a trash compactor was.
Yeah. What is this waste disposal thing? And what kind of waste? And that's not very green. That's just so weird. Well, she's got one, so I think everybody needs a high-rise apartment in D.C. By the way, folks, for those of you who don't know, D.C. property is some of, if not the highest valued property in the nation. D.C. apartments are some of the most expensive apartments, save perhaps some in San Francisco in the nation. And Alexandria...
And San Francisco ones are worth more because they come with their own feces on the sidewalk.
I know, but that's not a glitch. That's a feature. You have to look at it that way.
Right.
In San Francisco, I'm sorry, San feces Cisco, that's considered that's a plus. That's an actual amenity. Now, amenities aren't amenities in Florida.
In Los Angeles, you get free typhoid.
Yeah, that. You had to go there, didn't you? I'll go there.
I wouldn't go there.
See, that's why I like talking to Jeff, because he says stuff like that. Zing! Right back at me. 7 Los Angeles Police Department officers now have typhoid in Los Angeles from interacting with the homeless. And they've taken it back to their station and exposed other officers to typhoid as well. Lovely diseases that we once had gotten rid of because we were a civilization considerate of others, and we got vaccinations against these things, and they were all eliminated until we decided it was okay for nut jobs and the homeless who have been driven out of homes because of, I don't know, folks like Google and Twitter and Facebook, these very high executives in San Francisco. So we've gone out of our... Basically, I'm in the process of writing an article right now, and it says essentially this. And I'm going to throw this out to Jeff DUNETZ because I'd like his reaction too. We only got 4 minutes left. It seems to me, Jeff, doesn't it seem to you that leftists these days are not going to be happy until they turn most every urban rat cage these days into downtown Mogadishu.
Yeah, it could be. I think they're trying to turn it into their rat holes into a sewer. And I think they're being very successful at it. And it's just, people say, oh, socialism sucks. Look at Venezuela. Socialism sucks. Look at California. No offense, my friend.
Oh,
but,
none taken. No, I'll be the first to admit all of that.
And that's the problem, okay? When you take away individual freedom, people don't take care of themselves or their things. And it's as simple as that.
It's funny because in chat, Dave Milner has said Mogadishu will be a vacation paradise by comparison. Now, that's some funny shite. I don't care who you are.
And wasn't it AOC who said that bad things about the soldiers who died in Mogadishu? I believe so.
Don't know if that's attributable, but I will take your word for it. Down in Los Angeles, I found the article. A Los Angeles Police Department detective has been diagnosed with typhoid fever, and at least 6 other officers are showing symptoms, according to the AP. They all worked in the Central Division Station, the same place fined for unsanitary working conditions earlier this month. The division polices downtown L.A., including Skid Row, where hundreds of homeless people camp in the streets. LAPD says the division building is being disinfected. The officials are reviewing the state's report that found health violations at the station. In the middle of a cesspool, and there's health violations. I didn't see that coming. Did you, Jeff DUNETZ?
Yeah, I did.
Jesus.
Hey, listen.
You can't write
I know
this.
You're going to have to throw me off soon because you have a better guest in the second half. But listen, before we go,
okay,
you played the commercial at the break.
Yes.
My show has been off the air for 3 months.
Yes.
Because of technical problems.
Okay.
And within the next 2 weeks, we'll be back.
Woo-hoo. Now, if I had... Wait a minute. You know what that deserves? Information like that deserves this.
Through the fence and then came flying across the side here, right into the side of the parking structure.
That's what it deserves. So that is great news, is it not? That is excellent news.
It's been a battle. It's all technical problems, and it's been hard to get the show to work on Mac. So I put a bid on one of those bidding places to get a PC. And now I am trying to get everything done with it.
Okay.
I've been working on it. I've worked on it today, and we're working on it. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. It wasn't AOC who was wrecked. It was Omar who attacked the soldiers who died in Black Hawk Down.
Okay. That would make a little bit more sense. I can understand that.
Yeah. But what made me sick is that she didn't attack the operation. She attacked the dead soldiers, the people who gave their lives to follow orders.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, and I'll throw this open to you as well. If you have any stories, or you know about the military, or any people in your family, friends, etc., if you want to weigh in on the military next Thursday, you are more than welcome to call in. Basically, my show Thursday night is going to be a tribute to all the soldiers in D-Day, to D-Day itself, to the sacrifices that were made. It's going to be 2 hours. And I want to hear from people who have served, whether you've served in the military, whether you've sacrificed in law enforcement, whether you're a sheepdog, a silverback, an oath keeper, whether you've protected this nation as an emergency responder in some fashion or another. It's way past time that we acknowledge folks like this. So if you have stories, Jeff, I invite you to call in. And where can you be found, sir?
More importantly, if there's anybody in the audience now who fits into any of those categories, thank you for putting your ass on the line to save my family's ass. And that's not just the soldiers, that's the cops, the firemen, all the first responders, and the border police, and all those people.
Yes.
Because they made my life and my kids' lives safe.
Well, and just as you said at the very beginning of the show, and I know we're a minute or so over, but you made the point at the beginning of the show, which was those folks, the greatest generation, they saved the planet.
Yeah, but even today's folks are still saving our butts.
Yes, because I submit that the United States soldier is still the last best hope of this entire planet as well.
As well as the first responders and the cops and all those people.
So, lidblog.com.
Especially since you've retired.
That's true. That's true. Okay, folks.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Jeff DUNETZ, we'll have him on again.
Good night, my friend.
Thank you very, very much for being here. So just to confirm, and I'll get to the promo in due time. So not tomorrow night. You're not going to be on tomorrow, and you're not going to be on next week, but you're going to be the week after on your Wednesday show?
That will be the latest. If it's earlier, we'll let everybody know. I'll make a big deal.
Okay, great.
But that will be the absolute latest.
Okay. That, folks, is Jeff DUNETZ, the guy, the man at lidblog.com. You're listening to it is I, the bloviating Zeppelin, the Zepp who bloviates, right here in the SHR Media studios in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon doing the radio show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff DUNETZ. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff DUNETZ.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
New show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm back. I am the bloviating Zeppelin, bloviating into your ossicles from shrmedia.com. Now, if you happen to be listening, or watching, I should say, on the Big Sarge Media Facebook page, or the SHR Media Facebook page, or the SHR Media YouTube channel, please, I beseech thee, watch in the video once I open it up. This is me beseeching with my hands. I beseecheth thee. Go to shrmedia.com. Quick like a bunny. shrmedia.com. That's where the cool cats and kittens go to be in the chat room at shrmedia.com. I'm looking at 5 screens in front of me right now, and there's only room for one chat room on these screens that's dedicated, and that's the one that's over here. I humbly beseech thee and suggest shrmedia.com for the chat room. And I told you that we're going to have Dave Milner on now. Dave, I like to have Dave on. Dave has his own show, and Dave also, much more than I, there are certain persons whom I will reach out and touch because they have certain predilections that are different than mine, which means that they are more in tune with certain areas than I am. Now, one of these with regard to Dave is Islam and also Europe, UK, etc., etc. There's a ton of stuff that's going on these days. So I would expect Dave Milner. I have you, do I not, sir?
Good evening, BZ. I hope you do have me. Do you have me?
I certainly do. Oh, and I got good volume, too.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good. Well, first of all, I just want to say, Jeff, you, sir, are full of it. You're a great guest, and I want to get you on my show, man. We have got to do a show together. Jeff DUNETZ is fantastic, and you want to talk about a resume. I mean, anybody that used to work for Breitbart, what an organization that was, and continues to be in a lot of respects, man. He was great. I just hope I can even try to follow that act.
Here's a tough act to follow in chat. John Martin says, I said quick like a bunny, and John Martin said floats like a butterfly, stings when I pee. That's some funny shite. I don't care who you are. That's some funny shite right there.
That's right.
So
yes, I don't care who you are.
There, you sent me a couple of articles and also a YouTube audio cut. One of the first articles that you sent was the truth about what's happening with Trump in the UK right now. Well, as we know, Trump is making a visit to the UK. So Dave Milner from the Unpleasant Blind. Dave Milner from the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Can you tell us what's going on in the UK right now, sir?
Well, President Trump is visiting there to commemorate, of course, the 75th anniversary of D-Day.
Right.
And of course, he is meeting with officials and this kind of thing, and the left are being their usual asses about it. There have been massive protests. Now I've got to find this one and break this to you, BZ. This is this is great, man. There is a blimp for Americans who don't know this. Someone commissioned not really a blimp, more of a balloon of Trump in a diaper.
Yes.
Okay.
And it actually is pretty good.
Okay, you may already be beating me to it, but I'm putting this in the chat. This I got this off of Breitbart. They flew that thing when President Trump, was visiting, and apparently it didn't go too high. And irony of ironies, in a city that has so much knife crime, London, the blimp got stabbed.
It's funny you should mention that. I'm looking at the very same article in the Daily Mail, because if you want to find folks, if you want to find out what's happening in the United States, frequently I discover that you have to go across the Atlantic, across the pond, over to the UK to find out that frequently their articles are better about what's happening here in the United States of America than our articles are by the American media maggots. So from thedailymail.com, this is the headline. I love this. And like you pointed out, it's so apropos. Baby Trump blimp is deflated by a Tommy Robinson supporter who was then arrested for possession of a sharp weapon during anti-Trump protests in central London. And my guess would be, Dave Milner, what did he have? Like, he had an offensive, like butter knife? Ooh, butter knife. Ooh, bad.
I know what the weapon is. I know what it is. Yes.
Okay, all right.
It was a lady, and her offensive weapon was, it wasn't a machete or anything. It was a pair of nail scissors, as far as I can tell. That's what they're calling them, cosmetic scissors in here. I'm guessing they're nail scissors. That was her offensive weapon that she had. And it's just the irony is just delicious. President Trump hit the UK in a big way. First tweeting about Sadiq Khan and upsetting all of the Sadiq Khan fans a whole lot.
Upset the apple
calling
cart.
him a stone-cold loser. And, of course, Sadiq Khan didn't like that, but there were, you see there's a lot of leftists melting down and everything. And there's a reason for that, by the way, and part of that is because President Trump actually got to set foot on British soil, which they were trying to keep from happening. And second of all, because he called Sadiq Khan a stone cold loser, and also because their side took a horrific shellacking over the weekend in the European elections.
Okay. Tell us about that. Yeah, you bet. That's perfect. Dave Milner, tell us about that, please.
Right. Well, this is actually a bit of hope. Paul Joseph Watson was saying the media will do anything that they can to keep this from being described as a European spring, but it looks like the spring is sprung. Mr. Salvini won in Italy. He's a populist there.
Perfect.
And someone that many of us know and love, Marine Le Pen, won in France.
Yep.
She's calling, by the way, for the Macron to resign, but she says he won't do it.
No,
because he doesn't have, he doesn't have. I love the way she put it. He doesn't have the panache, which he doesn't, and he's a coward. That's basically what he is. The Yellow Vest protests really did great there. Now, Tommy Robinson sadly lost his bid through UKIP to be an MEP, a minister of the European Parliament. But he won the highest vote count of any independent in the UK. That despite the fact that his political funding site was was taken down by an organization named Stripe here in the United States, in California, by the way, BZ.
Of
Thank
course,
you.
of course.
And despite the fact that he was attacked physically, not only with a milkshake, reminiscent to me, by the way, BZ, of remember those films from the early 1960s when black people were sitting at drugstore counters,
right.
wanting service, and they got sodas thrown on them. Yeah. Actually, Paul Watson remembered that and reminded me of it. But yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Only with Tommy Robinson, it was a Muslim that threw a milkshake on him, not a soda. Guys, you younger people will have to use DuckDuckGo and find out what a soda was. It's precursor to the milkshake.
Isn't that sad?
Isn't
that
sad,
sad,
Dave?
Dave?
He was punched, and despite the fact that there was what can only be called, BZ, a state-sponsored terrorist attack against one of his political rallies in the town of Oldham, and I can get into that a bit if you'd like.
You were talking about milkshakes. I want to have people hear what that sounded like.
If you have a milkshake, and I have a milkshake, and I have a straw, there it is. That's a straw, you see. You watching? And my straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake.
That was from the movie There Will Be Blood. Classic scene. I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in. So go ahead and tell us about that scene in Oldham.
Right. Well, and before I tell you about that one, I'll also tell you about the other element that kept Tommy Robinson from winning, which was the fact that many of his flyers that he had printed up and wanted to mail in to voters were not delivered. And there were British postal workers on Twitter actually congratulating each other that they did not deliver those. So that bit of thing happened. Now, Oldham is a town in Great Britain where Mr. Robinson took his campaign. There is a predominantly Muslim area there, and there is a predominantly non-Muslim area there. Mr. Robinson went to the predominantly non-Muslim area so that there would not be a problem. Now, as it turns out, and you can see this from a documentary on tr.news, from one of the Muslims' own cameras and own YouTube post. The police in the UK, the actual police, escorted in a group of masked and balaclavaed Mohammedan, I guess you would call them instigators.
Well, there's an article that I'm looking at it, Politicalite, right here. It says, as Tommy Robinson's campaign to become the MEP for Northwest England gains in momentum, the usual suspects have been out trying to silence his voice with what they called huge gangs of mask-wearing Muslim thugs guided by the so-called Muslim Defense League. Now, wait, Dave Milner, you can't have an English Defense League, but it's okay to have a Muslim Defense League. Isn't that?
Oh, that's correct. That's correct, BZ. And I want to emphasize again, because this is important, they were escorted in to that area by the police. Mr. Robinson's rally was being held. It was nice and peaceful. There are women and children there, and it was, nice and high energy and friendly and all that stuff. And then suddenly, this group of Mohammedans is escorted in by the police, and I can't stress that enough. Even on one of the Muslims' own videos that he produced, you can see one of the police escorting them in. And then they start throwing bricks and rocks and things like that, and it got to a point where Tommy Robinson and his people gathered up the young children and put them in Mr. Robinson's own personal vehicle that he was using to travel from town to town, and had the plainclothes officers that were there escort that vehicle out of the area so the children would not be harmed. All right, and there was almost nothing about this in the fake stream media over there. In fact, they ignored it until the videos came out, and then they still ignored it. And yet, BZ, he got the highest vote count of any independent in the UK in that MEP election. Just imagine what would have happened had he not had those stumbling blocks put in his way. And I'll throw in one more thing. Last Thursday was when the people of the UK went and voted in the European election. Those votes weren't counted until Sunday. Meantime, those ballots were sitting in boxes, supposedly guarded. Now, my question to you, would a government that actually sponsored a terrorist attack on a certain candidate's rally be completely absolved from possibly involving itself in voter fraud to make sure that that candidate didn't win? Might that not be a possibility?
Yeah.
What would that government not stoop to is my question.
Isn't there an alleged Stalin quote that goes something similar to, "It isn't the people who vote that count, it's the people who count the votes that are material." Correct. Huh, funny how that works out. Don't you think that's odd, Dave?
Yeah, it is. I mean, speaking with Jeff Mitchell of EDL Radio, talking about how very familiar we are with voter fraud here in the United States, I couldn't help but notice that 2-day gap where those ballots were just sitting around and supposedly nothing happening.
Oh, nothing. Come on. Come on, Dave. Right. Come on.
I mean, okay. I know I'm just being paranoid.
You are. But that you have more noids than I do. I'm only a mononoid. At least you have a paranoids.
That's right. Yeah, I do. Well, I do stories from both sides of the pond. And so the left were celebrating the fact that Tommy Robinson didn't win. However, they're crying in their beer about the fact that they lost. The Labour Party did only slightly better than the Conservative Party, and the Conservative Party in those EU elections stunk. I mean, it got a very small section of votes, and Labour didn't do very much better at all. Certainly, one of the probably the biggest. This is the real news. The biggest single party now in the European Parliament is going to be represented the Brexit Party. Now that's Nigel Farage's thing, and I think I'll tell you what I told Ken McClinton over his show.
Okay.
I think that Nigel Farage is going to do whatever he can to make sure that the economic part of Brexit happens, but not the immigration portion of it, because. As is in the video that I sent you, Nigel Farage doesn't think that there's a problem with Islam. So it's the future in the UK is going to be very interesting indeed. Yes, it is.
Okay, if you're watching on video right now, as Dave Milner said that Nigel Farage doesn't think there's anything wrong with Islam, replay that at the end of the show and watch my eyes as Dave was saying that. Now, Dave made mention of a video. Now, this is a video. It's an audio cut for you guys. And I swear to God, one of these days I'm going to learn how to put a video up here in the video portion of the show, because Sean says that he can do it and that I may be teachable in that regard. But for right now, these are audio cuts. This is a guy named Avi Yemeni, and he says he's going to tell us the truth about Trump in the UK, the truth that the media apparently is hiding.
I want to start this video by first thanking all of you stone cold losers out there for entertaining me so much over the last 24 hours. In the lead up to President Donald Trump's historic visit, to the United Kingdom, virtue signalling leftists such as Jeremy Corbyn, Owen Jones, and the pipsqueak himself, Sadiq Khan, took the opportunity to promote themselves by dividing the country about something that should have been absolutely bipartisan. The President of the United States has travelled to the UK on a 3-day state visit to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings, the largest seaborne invasion in history, and the crucial turning point in the war against Adolf Hitler. The President came on behalf of 320 million Americans from all walks of life. Yep. Ironically, some of the rhetoric these idiots regressed to was labelling the elected leader of the American people as a Nazi, even though he's there to celebrate the joint US and UK defeat of the real Nazis.
Stop right there. How absolutely insane is that? And the reply, the rejoinder would be, that's how stupid leftists are these days. I'm in the process of writing an article about this, and I'm going to Bigfoot myself in this, and I'm going to ask you, Dave Milner, about this.
Yes.
Can there be unity anymore in terms of the opposites of the aisles? Can there actually be unity between the GOP and the Democrats? For example, let's just bring up one topic. And I'll tell you what, Dave, as we're talking here, can I hold you over the break?
Sure.
Okay. All righty. Just want to make sure because we got a break coming up in a couple of minutes. But Dave, can there be any unity on abortion? You know, that the GOP and the Democrats can reach across the aisle and shake hands and come to some kind of a unity or a bipartisan agreement, or the very popular word compromise. Can there be compromise on abortion, Dave Milner?
At this point, no, I don't believe that there can, and that brings it out into the general area. And I wish I had known you were going to ask that question, because I would have shared with you an audio if I could have found it of I believe Governor Hickenlooper from Colorado. He's out in California at this Democrat meeting convention thingy they were having.
Okay,
and he had the temerity to say that the Democratic Party talking about socialism would not be good politics, and he was soundly booed. They practically booed him off the stage.
Yes,
I mean, the extreme element of the Democrat Party is poised to take over. I have to think, given some statements and things that she's made about impeachment and other things, that this has to scare, the depends off of Nancy Pelosi and people who are, the older, more established members of the Democrat Party, because they see their own party going so far left and so far nutty. I mean, Omar and the others. AOC, the statements they're making, they're turning voters off. And the one thing that Democrats, and you've seen this yourself, BZ, over the past 50 years, have been able to do is to insinuate their policies in slowly. That's not happening anymore.
Slowly
the extreme left wing wants it all now.
Oh, yes.
So
slowly can go to hell.
Question is no. I don't believe so. It's sad, but I think it's true.
I think you're right, too. Tell you what, we got to go to a break. When I come back, Dave Milner will still be here. I'd like to have him for another couple of minutes, because funny that Dave should mention that. I have that audio cut exactly from Hickenlooper, and we're going to listen to that when we come back. This is Dave Milner, my guest on the show right now in the second hour. I'm the Bloviating Zeppelin. You're in the saloon.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes the show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff DUNETZ. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff DUNETZ.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's the final 25. The final 25 minutes in the second hour of the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting live and direct from the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Network studios behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles east of the belly of the beast, the Bill Mill in Sacramento, Fornicalia, where late at night when I go out that door, the first thing I hear is the death knell, the screams of common sense dying, issuing forth from the Capitol building at 10th and L Street, downtown. And then as I go out to my car on the street, I smell the terribly noxious vapors, the evil vapors of sulfur and brimstone, and it's like that every damn night. It just never stops. Dave Milner, welcome. Good to have you back, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Now, you mentioned Hickenlooper, and he talked about socialism, and something happened when he started talking about socialism, and it was kind of weird because he's a candidate for president in 2020, but apparently this dude is not towing the proper line.
Who would have imagined the Koch brothers and Donald Trump could help resuscitate the discredited ideas of Karl Marx and Joseph Stalin?
In a primary that has been a race to the left, John Hickenlooper is veering hard to the center, taking a stance so unapologetically moderate, it's almost certain to be controversial among some progressives. The former Colorado governor is slamming the growing popularity of socialist ideas in the Democratic Party.
To try to simply redistribute our economic bounty without growing our bounty is a fool's errand. And one that will surely lead to calamity and unintended consequences.
For his own economic plan, Hickenlooper touts public-private partnerships, incentivizing entrepreneurship, making college more affordable, and vastly expanding apprenticeships. But in drawing the contrast with socialism, voters heard a not-so-subtle critique of the more left-leaning 2020 candidates, a point some believe needs to be made.
He's aiming that at a few Democrats, like Bernie Sanders and Bernie's idea of free college for everybody and everything free. I think most Democrats are going to reject that.
Hickenlooper says his broadside against socialism is not an attack on Bernie Sanders.
My point is that the way we're going to turn this country around is not through demonizing business, but finding ways to help business to grow at rates that benefit.
No, we've heard enough of this.
Ooh, there's the reason he was elected in California.
Oh, God.
In Colorado. Pardon me.
Yeah.
In Colorado, folks. And you just heard part of it.
Oh, isn't that terrible? He's, my God, could it be said that he's almost supporting capitalism? God, no!
It's amazing to hear that, BZ, and I have to say, he would stand a decent chance against Trump if he were nominated. Now, I think the chance of him being nominated is about as much as the chance of me going back in time and dating Janet Jackson in about 1989.
Right.
Probably not going to happen.
Not going to happen to me. Or it would be on the order of myself going and mixing up myself a nice packet of Jell-O, putting it in the refrigerator, waiting about, 8 hours or so, taking it out, and effectively nailing it to a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to happen.
No.
At all.
Not going to happen.
Let me ask you this for a final question. Let me throw this out to you because I'd like to solicit your answer. We're going to go across the pond now back to the UK. We're going to talk about Theresa May. The UK political system in Parliament is a much different system than we are used to here. So I think the question to you will be, May is, I'm guessing, going to be out soon. Who do you think may be Theresa May's replacement, and why?
She's got about 11 people right now in the Tory party who are vying for that leadership in a possible, just to fill out her term.
Okay.
The current wisdom is that it's going to be Boris Johnson, the former mayor of London, or as I call him, Bobo the Clown. This is the man who said after Fusilier Lee Rigby was hacked to death on the streets of London in Woolwich that by Quran quoting Mohammedans that the attack had nothing to do with Islam. So that's a big reason I call him Bobo the Clown.
Right.
Very likely he will take the reins until there's an election, and at that point, I think there's a good possibility Nigel Farage could wind up being PM.
Really?
But there are many candidates. There's a lady named McVeigh who is a hard Brexiteer, who has been vetted by the EDL radio team, and we like her as far as her stances go. Not sure she stands much of a chance, but we can always hope. And as far as the parliamentary system goes, folks, if you think the U.S. Congress is broken, that's a well-oiled machine compared to the Parliament, especially after these EU elections, because there are people saying that, for instance, the Tories, or their version of the Republicans, stand a good chance of just being extinct if they don't help to deliver Brexit.
Wow. That's a pretty astounding statement.
Mm-hmm.
To confirm, did you just say, Dave Milner, that the UK political system is even, have I got the translation right? The political system is even more messed up than that of the United States. Did I read you right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you did. You read me correctly. Yeah, it's amazing to think that there actually is one that would be more corrupt and more in chaos right now than our own. But yeah, there is one. Yeah, there is.
Okay. The only thing that I can think of is, like I say, my new phrase these days is, take the J bus to downtown Mogadishu, because that's where we're heading. The only political system possibly worse than that of the UK may be downtown Mogadishu, which is desired here. So, Dave Milner, thanks for being here. Tell folks where you can be found on social media, and tell folks about your show, sir.
All right. Well, exciting things will be happening very soon. Of course, I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy at Spreaker.com through the SHR Media, and right now I'm running a show that the second part of a show I did with Kaiser at Kaiser's Castle. It's a fairly nice talk we had, but starting Saturday, my show is going to be merging a bit with. And SHR Media will be merging a bit with the English Defense League radio show. And Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern and Saturday at midnight, people will be getting new shows every day, because we do over at blogtalkradio.com, we do the English Defense League radio show. We do 2 90-minute shows, more or less, a week. I chop those up into 3 parts and put them in at shrmedia.com at the Unpleasant Blind Guy page, and you guys get them as nice little manageable bites, and that's going to start on the 8th. And I'm Dave Milner, or Agador, that's Aggedor, at I'm UBG Contact on Twitter, and I'm Agador or Dave Milner at Trumptown or Mublet, the Tea Party Community, Spreely, Mines, MeWe, and I'm absolutely Agador on Gab. And I want to thank you, Mr. Beasy, for allowing me to come on your fine program after your excellent guest, Jeff DUNETZ. Can't wait to hear the Yid with a Lid again.
Oh, he'll be back. We know he'll be back. You'll be back too. I like having an update from you every once in a while. I think that's a great thing. So, Dave Milner, thanks for being here tonight. I grandly appreciate it, sir. And like I say, next Thursday, if you have any stories or anything like that about the U.S. military, you're invited to call in as well, because it's going to be 2 hours of a tribute to the American soldier, to D-Day, to sheepdogs, oath keepers, and the people who keep us safe here in the United States.
I may well have a small contribution to make, and yes, as Jeff said, my thoughts and prayers and gratitude that I don't even have words to express go out to the veterans who have fought, and to the people who are currently serving, both in our military and on our police forces and our other first responders. you guys do the kind of work that I never could, and I don't have words to express how grateful I am. God bless you, and yes, Mark, God bless you as well, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. That was Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy who isn't. He is blind. Okay, don't get me wrong. He's blind. He's legally blind, but he's not unpleasant. I want to make that abundantly clear. The other thing I want to make abundantly clear, oh my God, do I have so many stories up here? Let's see if I have an audio cut. I could go over Mueller, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I found, however, some articles. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all of them. The other one, the big one, I'm going to have to save for a rainy day, I think. But I think you need to consider and understand just how leftists think. Because when I was talking about unity about 15, 20 minutes ago, in the article that I'm writing in terms of unity, people talk about unity, unity, unity. I'm like today's leftist. As far as I'm concerned, unity can go to hell. With Dave Milner recently, I threw out the topic of abortion. And I'll be the first to admit, abortion wasn't my thing, okay? And when I say thing, what I mean is I am a conservative. I used to be a Republican. I am now not a Republican. I am a registered independent. I used to write checks to the GOP. The old trite phrase is still true. The GOP left me, I didn't leave them. I am a conservative. I'm partial libertarian. I'm like little L libertarian. And with the people that are looking on the video right now, I can't make a little L with my finger, so that's a big L, libertarian. So people are like military conservatives or defense conservatives or budget conservatives, social conservative. I wasn't too big on that. Small government conservative, founding document conservative, constitutional conservative, Bill of Rights conservative. Yeah, that's all me. But I really wasn't much into the entire abortion issue until I guess you could say I was dragged kicking and screaming into the abortion issue. When these days, when you have leftists, governors saying that you should have the ability to have an abortion up to the point of delivery? I've heard leftists say that once delivered, it should be up to the mother as to whether or not to save that child. By extension, could you not say that, oh, well, if it's inconvenient, what about this 3-month-old? That's not very convenient for me these days. My gosh, what will I do with that 3-month-old? That's just not working out really well. The things that leftists are saying now are so far over the top that I don't think you can really make any kind of excuse for these things at all, period, anymore. And that went to abortion. That went to my point. Now, abortion is an issue of mine. Because I didn't have a choice in that. How could I have a choice in that when you're advocating killing someone that's already living? How is that possible? In any kind of a sane world, how could you make that issue? I'm trying to look for the story, and it's buried up here in my various other stories. There was a story that just came out of Europe, I believe, where there was a young girl, 17. I believe she was a rape victim. I cannot think of her name, But now they've said that they believe overall in general it's okay to euthanize her because of her mental challenges. Are we here now as a society where we're saying that the euthanization of a 17-year-old girl is okay? Abortion at the last moment is okay. And I know there are some people that are out there that are saying, well, if it's a leftist and it's a Caucasoid leftist, well, they're just eliminating themselves. Okay, but what about the right to life of life itself? Apparently, leftists have become so entirely dismissive of that. There's so many stories that I could go up to in here. Here's a story by someone that writes the occasional good story, but certainly not this one. But it's indicative of how people think. This is by Peggy Noonan, and it's not a news story. But I need to get over a portion of it because you need to understand how these people think. We're facing them. This is a fight. This isn't me sitting in a chair and just blabbing. You know, I don't have the ability to go out and walk lines anymore for a grand amount of time. So, yeah, I do this show when I have a blog, and I am an armchair warrior. But I also write checks, and I write really big checks to people that I like. And it's not the GOP, but guaranteed it's going to be people like Tom McClintock, the ACLJ, Judicial Watch, folks and agencies like that. I let my money, in literally the thousands of dollars, do my work and my speaking for me. Peggy Noonan, how Trump lost half of Washington. How did things ever get so far? I don't know. It was so unfortunate, so unnecessary. Don Corleone, the Godfather. So she writes, I keep thinking about the dynamics the past few years between the president and what we used to call official Washington. So right off the bat, Peggy Noonan is going, she's boo-hooing what Trump has done to Washington. OMB, orange mad bad. That relationship is ugly and broken, but it could have been otherwise. Trump supporters have long held and deeply believed that none of the people in what they call the swamp were ever anything but unalterably opposed to him and meant from day one to remove him by whatever means possible. Yeah, I agree with that. This was true of about half of official Washington. They were predominantly Democrats, though there were Republicans too, McCain, Flake, and certainly the media were against him overwhelmingly. Well, thank God she can tell a little bit of the truth here. But the other half of official Washington, though to varying degrees disapproving of Trump, often for reasons that were almost aesthetic, true, was willing to be surprised. They were open to persuasion. They didn't say this, but they thought it. I remain unconvinced. They'd give him time and watch events closely. Really? Really? You think all the forces in the world and all the counterintelligence agencies in the United States weren't already arrayed against Donald John Trump in early 2016? You'd be a damn fool to think not. Peggy Noonan writes, I'm thinking of the old ambassadors, mostly men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. They've woven into the town solid citizens, friends of journalists, occasional sources, and they know things. They're mostly retired and at lunch at clubs in town often begin sentences with, and so I told Zabig. There's a bit of lost glory with them, but they care about America, are personally invested in it, love it with an old-school love, and respect systems knowing that creativity in art, science, and diplomacy can only be born with a certain immediate order. Stop. I'm not going to read the rest of this damn article because it's cat crap. She's pissed off because Donald John Trump isn't a politician. And he went into the D.C. bowels and tried to turn it upside down. It's like going into your couch, pulling off the sofas, and trying to find the change inside. He wants to take people and turn them upside down and watch the deep state fall out of them. And it's overdue. It's incredibly overdue. Okay, I'm not in the mood for it tonight. Maybe one day I'll read this article. But I mean, just getting through the first couple of paragraphs and attempting to get you, they want old school, smoky rooms, D.C., where people did have a certain panache and you went along to get along. And the reason that they don't like it now is because, well, there can't be quite as much corruption as there was. Because we can't have everything our way. And he's just an interrupter. He's the turd in the punch bowl. This has been happening, just as Dave Milner indicated in chat, for generations. In other words, what she's saying and what all the other people in D.C., all the other schmucks like McCain and Flake and all the various rhinos, Bill Kristol, the Weekly Standard, and those numbskulls is, we liked it when our apple cart wasn't upset. We liked it when we could go to lunch and people wouldn't offend us because Donald John Trump is offensive. OMB. Orange man bad. He doesn't belong here. He doesn't belong here. He's an outlier. He's the bull in the china shop. He's the turd in the punch bowl. And he's one of the few presidents who's actually held up his end of, it's like trying to find the non-stinky end of the turd. It doesn't exist. He's trying to find it. He's finding out how D.C. really operates. And I really believe that he has the best wishes of America at heart. And I still denigrate him. I still laugh at him. Who can look at a coiffure like that and not laugh? The memes of the cat with the orange hair on the top, that makes me laugh. It's like I say, Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. But he dragged me kicking and screaming into voting for him. When I finally began, I said at the outset, no, I'll say it again. I was happy if, number one, he wasn't Hillary Clinton. Well, I was satisfied with that. And then number two, I said my threshold was, hey, we need to make some SCOTUS appointments. And guess what? John Trump did that too. And then he did a lot of other things. And that's all gravy. So you talk about presidents that are keeping their word in terms of campaign promises? This is the dude. And that's what really pisses off the LDAM.
Monsieur has
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. And on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Yes, I'm actually writing stuff there again. Thanks to thanks to Big Sarge Media for simulcasting my show. Promotional consideration by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. Thanks to Jeff DUNETZ for being here in the first hour. Thanks to Dave Milner for being here in the second hour. Thanks to you for listening live. Thanks to everybody for being in chat. Thanks to everybody who listens in podcast. I think there may be a chat show tomorrow. I'll let you know. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.